Cedar Point has lost their minds as they're making bold move after bold move, and they just added a crane to the mix. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Cedar Freak Jr. and I'm coming at you guys with another breaking news Top Thrill Dragster update. I'm not gonna waste any more time. We're gonna get right into this. As you guys see in the background video, Cedar Point has a crane right in the middle of Top Thrill Dragster's infield, and we need to talk about what this could mean. Now, as you guys know already, Cedar Point recently just opened for the 2023 season as they opened last weekend, and to be honest with you, I did not think we were going to see too much more movement or work around Top Thrill Dragster, especially after they finished what we presume to be the spike footers. But yet here we are once again being absolutely shocked out of our minds by Cedar Point, as there is literally a crane sitting in the middle of Top Thrill Dragster's layout. Now let's get more into the details and the positioning of this crane. I said it was more towards the middle, but in reality it's literally right next to the top hat, or at the bottom where the top hat begins. Now of course your immediate reaction and thought would be that this crane is obviously for the top hat. Either they're about to extend the top hat or they're about to retract the top hat, but they're going to do some kind of work on the top hat. But this is where things start to get crazy. From the research that I've done and from what I have read, this particular model crane is rumored to have a max lifting height of 250 to 400 feet, which immediately tells us that this thing is nowhere near tall enough to work on the top hat. As you know, the peak of the top hat sits at 420 feet, so you would need at least a 500-foot crane to do any kind of work on the top hat. With that being said, that basically kills all the top hat rumors that I've been seeing going around today, from people speculating that this crane was going to be used to extend this height of the top hat, to people saying obviously it's just for a retract, because obviously you have to get that track off that top hat at some point. But right now, this crane is not going to be used on the top hat, which just makes things even more interesting. And the reason why it's more interesting, because it begs the question, if you're not doing top hat work, why do you need a 300-foot crane? Obviously this is not for the spike, because it's on the other side of where the initial footers were placed. So that brings me to two possible theories. Theory number one, they are getting ready to install the launch track, which means if they're getting ready to install the launch track this early in the season, an LSM launch is not the only thing that's going to be happening, and neither is a vertical spike. We already know that they're going to reopen it in 2024. That's been confirmed by Cedar Point themselves. So if they were doing just an LSM launch, that's only going to take a couple of weeks to install. It's going to take less than a month for LSM launch. For a vertical spike, that's also going to take less than a month. They've already got the footers down for it. They can do that in the off season. So why the heck would you need to use a crane this early in the construction process, unless you were trying to open this thing in 2023, which we already know they're not doing? So the only other explanation is that they have to be adding another element besides the vertical spike in the LSM launch. But let's take a pause there for a second, as we like to look at situations from all possible perspectives. Going back to the idea that they are indeed about to install the launch system, that still leaves more questions than answers. Why install the launch track if you still have the top hat track there? Obviously, you're not going to retrofit the two tracks. I mean, it would be more cost effective to do so, but then you run into the problem of theming. They're not going to paint the old track, because at that point you might as well just get new track, because it's more difficult to paint the track while it's still attached to the top hat structure. So obviously, for theming purposes and just for less of a headache, it makes sense to retract the whole entire top hat. Keeping the old track there but installing a new launch raises some eyebrows, which brings us back to the point I made earlier in the video. If it's not for the launch, it's not for the spike, and it's not for the top hat, then it has to be for a new element that we haven't even thought of yet. Lastly, I just want to touch on this for a quick second. I've heard some people saying that this crane might be used to paint the actual supports, the structure of the top hat itself. Now that is a possibility, but in the past they did actually take the elevator to the top of the top hat and then dangle themselves and paint the top hat structure. I know that sounds super crazy, right? But that's how they did it. So they don't necessarily need to spend all the money they're spending on this crane to paint the top hat structure. And maybe I'm wrong for this, but again, why would you do something backwards? Like, why would you paint the supports without putting the new track on. Like, you hire, you rent this crane to paint it, but you don't rent a crane to take the track off. And then while you have the crane to take the track off, you can use that same crane to paint the structure. So that would just be a waste of extra money. So I don't think we're gonna see any changes as far as the spike and as far as the top hat goes until later, probably towards the end of the season, once it's been officially announced by Cedar Point. Which again brings me to this question: why the heck is there a crane at Top Thrill Dragster? Like, there literally should be no crane activity, but yet here we are. And I don't have the answers. So as always, I'm turning to you guys to hear your perspectives, your opinions, and let you guys have a voice. I will be responding to your guys' comments in the comment section below. It's been your boy Coastal Freak Jr. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can be up to date and in the loop when it comes to Top Thrill Dragster and Cedar Point news in general. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.